serious? What scene from a movie, show or video game never fails to make your eyes tear up no matter how many times you've watched it? Serious replies only. Fox and the Hound when she leaves Todd in the woods. I watched it once when I was 6. Never again. The part in the beginning of Wall-E where he tries to hold his own hand. I would have followed you. My brother, my captain, my king. Right, double quotation mark. I get a little misty every time. My very favorite thing, Walter Bishop. I never cried more at a show than Fringe. So good. Fringe is such an underrated show. One of my favorites of all time. The ending never fails to make me sad. When Artax, the horse, is slowly sinking into the swamp in the never-ending story. I had to scroll way too far to find this one. It traumatized me as a child. When Sully opens Boo's door and she says Kitty. Gets me every time. The scene before where Boo opened the door and it was just her closet makes this scene powerful. We all thought they'd never see each other again after that. Dad, want to have a catch? YouTube. Watch. V equals LXJZM6N8 and AB channel equals 805 Bruin. I want my father back, you son of a bitch. That scene hit really hard. Just when you thought he was about to spare him. It's always heartbreaking to see even the funniest characters break like that. Trivia. As far as I know, the Green Mile. When they kill John Coffey. That's how it is every day. Boss. Tired of being on the road. Lonely as Sparrow in the rain. I'm tired of never having a buddy to be with. To tell me where he's going to, coming from or why. Mostly, I'm tired of people being ugly to each other. I'm tired of all the pain I feel and hear in the world every day. There's too much of it. It's like pieces of glass in my head. All the time. Can you understand? Please. Boss, don't put that thing over my face. Please don't put me in the dark. Don't make me go into the dark. I's afraid of the dark. When Littlefoot's mom dies. Every freaking time. Not only when she dies, but later when Littlefoot sees his own shadow on the rock and thinks it's her. Even thinking about when he says, "Wait, mother." The end of both Apollo 13 and The Martian when they're safe and everyone is cheering gets me every damn time. Band of Brothers episode 9. Why We Fight. When they find the camp at Landsberg. Different times get me each time I watch it. But I've watched dozens of times and have never made it through that episode without tearing up. Mars H. Abyssinia Henry when Radar reads the telegram about Henry's plane going down. Frey's dog episode. Futurama. Baby Mine from Dumbo. 1941. To this day I sob like the biggest baby when I hear that song. 10 years ago at my aunt's funeral. I was keeping it together for my little cousins who just lost their mom. They had this slideshow pictures of her when she was healthy and it had all of her favorite music. Everyone was a wreck but I kept my jaw clenched and my arms around the kids. Then that fricking song came on. The modified fire hoses behind my eyes that I didn't know were there shot off with enough force to strip chrome off a car bumper. I couldn't catch my breath for 30 minutes. I've never actually cried enough for my tears to hit my shirt before until that day. Frick Dumbo. The no following scene from Iron Giant is the weapon of choice to make the whole household tear up. Superman instant tears. Will Smith how come he don't want me? Man in the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air when he loses it after his dad leaves and Uncle Phil consoles him. Every time. It's the build up for me. How he talks about how he doesn't need him. And yells out all that anger. But in the end, he's still a kid that wants his dad to love him. It's tragic. But his dad does love him. Otherwise, he wouldn't have hugged him. Lou wasn't his dad. He was his father. Uncle Phil was his dad. Just reading that. I can still hear Will's voice. Still chokes me up. The scene near the end of Coco. When he sings Remember Me to his great-grandma who has Alzheimer's and she remembers it from her childhood and sings along. Red heart. I had a grandma with Alzheimer's. I loved her so much. It was quite funny to my family when she forgot things. But it kept getting worse. She died last year. From COVID. But I'm happy she did. If she had died from the Alzheimer's it would have been way more heartbreaking. But that scene from Coco. Damn, it gets me every time. My grandma would sing childish songs and say random Spanish. I doubt she knew what it meant. The ending part of Inside Out when Riley comes home from running away and cries to her parents. It makes me tear up every time. Pixar is a beast when it comes to tearjerkers. The love story on the first 10 minutes of Up. Toy Story when he gives his toys to the little girl or when they are on the incinerator. And the last half of Inside Out where things just keep falling apart. I'm sorry Wilson. Tom Hanks made me cry over a fricking volleyball. I'm pretty sure I'm gonna cry at that exact same scene again. No matter how many times I've watched it. Another Tom Hanks one is the end of Captain Phillips when he is being treated by the nurse and completely breaks down. It's just so fricking real, probably because it was on the nurse's half. One of the greatest actors alive. In Moana, when the grandmother dies and her spirit becomes the giant manta ray in the ocean. Every single time. How to Train Your Dragon 2. Stoic's funeral scene. Also the scene in Three-Way Hiccup goes back to visit Toothless. As an older man. Saving Private Ryan. Tell me in a good man to know that in 70 years he never even told his wife what happened. He lived every day knowing that men died to give him a life. And after all those years he still wasn't sure he deserved it. And here I am at work wondering who's chopping onions. Also runner-up. The ending of Gladiator. I will see you again. But not yet. Not yet's factor, even Simon cried. The ride of the Rohirrim in Return of the King. For me it's near the end, my friends. You bout to know one. This one and the Grey Havens scene. Every single time. I have watched the trilogy probably 15-20 times all the way through in my life. Neither of those scenes are particularly sad. But the weight of them, an immense sense of loyalty and friendship that has been bubbling throughout the story, reaches a peak at those spots. It also doesn't help watching the Grey Havens scene knowing that they had to film that scene several times. And all the actors said they barely had to get into character because everyone was already crying from the knowledge that filming was almost over. Side note, in the books, I always cry at the end when Sam is with his daughter Eleanor and everything is just normal. You've spent how long reading all kinds of adventures, gaining and loving friends. And at the end you know that Sam now has a normal life and he has to grieve through it. And at the same time you have to close the book and go back to reality. Peter dying in the first 15 minutes of Into the Spider-Verse. I was not ready to start crying at the beginning of the movie. And then they hit us with an animated cameo of Stan Lee, crying inside. Cooper in Interstellar watching the tape his daughter sent to him while he's on a space mission. Yes. And then later when he meets his daughter again. Even just thinking about it brings a tear to my eye. OMG. I was not ready for that scene. My son was 6 years D when I watched that and I couldn't take it. So well done. The Green Mile. It's hard not to cry during John Coffey's execution. This may be embarrassing. But Bye Bye Butterfree is just sad. It makes me cry genuine tears. If you are the right age that you grew up watching that. I think that was a lot of kids' first experiences with losing a major character in a show they really liked. It certainly was for me. Obviously Butterfree did not die. But kinda felt like it as a kid. The opening sequence stood up. That's equally beautiful and heartbreaking. Especially the music. The way it goes from happy to sad is beautiful. That whole sequence is a masterpiece alone. It's a beautiful but sad reminder that life is short. And you need to appreciate every moment you spend with your loved ones. I was sad. Because I was afraid you'd lost your way. Avatar. The Last Airbender. Every damn time. Also when he sings the song for his son. Just a guy can't. Iroh embracing Zuko in this scene is one of the greatest moments in all of fiction. Rudy. I may have told this story on Reddit before but just in case. Here you go. I'm 10-11 years old. I'm flying to visit my grandparents. To my surprise they have TVs everywhere in the plane. In 94-95 this was not the norm, so I was excited about watching a movie. I was flying alone, so I was excited that I could pass time by watching a new movie. The movie. Rudy. Yes. I love football and had wanted to see it since it came out a few years earlier. This was best case scenario. Well, at least I thought it was. Towards the end of the movie several scenes get emotional and I couldn't hold back the tears. I'm doing everything I can to hide them because I'm uber embarrassed. I finally work up enough courage to look up and around and I was rather surprised. Not a dry eye on the plane. Grown men were crying uncontrollably. I was still embarrassed but felt better after seeing that the movie got to literally everyone. I still can't watch it around other people because I still cry. Almost 30 years later and having seen the movie several times, I no longer have an excuse. What a great flick. When Pikachu is trying to shock Ash alive during Pokemon the first movie. Damn. Actually the whole last quarter of that movie opens the floodgates. I still think the episode where they're stranded in a snowstorm is sadder. Ash returns his Pokemon, even Pikachu, in their Pokeballs, and they all refuse to stay in to keep him warm. You don't see his eyes, only tears streaming from his face. Yeah, like that kid's movie had no business being that serious or actually kind of thought-provoking. Like geez man. Leaves from the vine. Falling so slow. In regards to the Tales of Ba Sing Se, I always thought Momo's tale was so much sadder than Iroh's. Leaves from the Vine got me a bit choked up. But Momo curling up in Appa's footprint was when I actually cried. Like fragile tiny shells. Drifting in the foam. The Brooks was here sequence from Shawshank. Ugly tears every time.